Alex, can you hear us? Excellent. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for the town of Fortville. It'll be the first for 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. Sarah, will you please take us roll call?
Sturdivant,
Here.
Carpenter, Simmons,
Here.
Jacobs,
Here.
Murphy.
Here. Sarah. All right. Now, if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I want to welcome everybody to the February Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Get the meeting agenda before us. Adam, can we approve the meeting agenda as presented, or are there any changes needed? All right. I would look for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for 12/30/2025.
Oh, this is the meeting agenda for tonight. February.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for February 26, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting agenda approved. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Michael Carpenter to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We'd like to take the oath of office for him. Sarah, will you be conducting that? Ready to stand for, please?
Swear that I will faithfully perform the duties of my appointed position. And will follow the applicable laws of the state of Indiana and the town of Fortville. And will follow the applicable laws of the state of Indiana and the town of Fortville. And shall follow the governing rules, policies, and procedures of the BZA. Follow the governing rules, I will hereby affirm that I will perform the duties of this public trust in a fair, equitable, and ethical manner.
Damn. Yes.
Hereby affirm that I will use of this public trust in a fair, equitable, ethical manner.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome. We appreciate your service to the town. You didn't know you're having wedding vows tonight, did you? That was a doozy, but we do appreciate your service. Welcome, welcome. All right. Number 5 on the agenda this evening, commission to select a chairman and a vice chairman for 2026. Let's start with chairman. I'd look for a nomination for chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals for this year.
You. I'll nominate Nathan Sturdivant.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right. Approved. Next, we'll go for vice chair for 2026. I would look for a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Joe Murphy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Joe, you happy? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Just keep getting deeper into the belly of the beast.
That's right. Look forward to this year. Really appreciate serving with each and every one of you guys. This is a good group, and we get to serve the town well. So looking forward to it. Thank you, Joe.
My pleasure.
All right. Number 6, commission to consider approving minutes of the December 2025 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any modifications needed? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the December 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting from meeting agenda or meeting minutes from 12/30/2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right. Meeting minutes approved. All right, moving right along, number 7, we come to our public hearing this evening. We have one case before us. This was continued from the December 2025 meeting. Case number, it's variance 06-2025, 108 West Ohio Street, to allow a setback variance for a home addition, which is an expanded garage at 108 West Ohio Street with a setback of 0 feet at the east property and 0 feet at the south property line. Adam, if you would please present the case for us this evening, we'd appreciate it.
Great, thank you. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. As you mentioned, this is at 108 West Ohio. And Joe Huck is the petitioner on behalf of his daughter, Jessica Shug, and she's the owner of the property. The zoning on the property is residential 3.5, R 3.5, and it's within the Old Town overlay, which allows for some tighter setbacks than in other areas of town. The use of the property is it's a single-family residential home. So the request by the petitioner here tonight is that Ms. Shug currently has a one-car garage and would like to widen it to a two-car garage. And so in order to do so as desired, she's seeking 2 development standards variances. The first one would be to allow a 0-foot setback on the east side of the property instead of 6 feet as required. And then secondly, to allow a 0-foot setback on the south side of the property instead of 5 feet as required. So if we take a look at the aerial photo from Beacon here, you can see the home in question right here. And it is just west of Main Street. And then if we take a look at this oblique aerial photo, and of course we can refer back to any of these as necessary, this is looking off to the east. You can see where my cursor is here. This is where they'd like to widen it. And then here's some of the neighboring homes. Then here is a view of the front of the home, of course, on Ohio Street. They recently renovated it, did a very nice job. And here are some ground photos that were taken late last year. So you can see the blue house is Ms. Shug's house where they would like to widen it. And then the house to the right here in gray is the neighbor's property. So the property line is more or less probably where my cursor is right here, probably somewhere in the middle. And if we take a look at the plot plan or the survey, you can see that how the property is laid out. It was built in the 40s or 50s. And so obviously it does not conform to a lot of the current standards. You'll notice how, here, this is a better example here. You can see based on the survey that the house is actually about 2.5 feet on that neighbor's property as it stands today. So this is the area where they're looking to widen it right here. So based on the survey provided, this is the staff analysis, of course, based on the survey provided by the petitioner, it appears that that garage is already about 2.5 feet onto the adjacent property, the Simmons property. And I believe both properties were owned by a single owner at one time, the Copeland family. The house was built in 1950, so presumably there could be a quote unquote adverse possession of that area on the neighboring property. However, this addition could put more structure on the neighboring property. Secondly, if the addition is built as proposed, the contractors would need to cross onto the neighbor's property to build it. And the owner would have, of the home in question would have no ability to maintain it without going onto an adjacent property. Third item is if the neighbor installs a fence, the Simmons, which they have the right to do that, if they install a fence close to the property line, this owner would have no ability to access and maintain the side of her home. And then the fourth item is that the new addition would likely have to be a minimum 1 hour exterior fire rated wall and have no openings as well, because it would likely be less than 5 feet from the neighbor's garage. In terms of remonstrance to this case, all of the public hearing notice items were completed. Sign posting, newspaper publication, the Greenfield Reporter, the mailing, and that was all done back in December. If you remember at that December meeting, it was continued to the February meeting here today. We did receive remonstrance from both of those neighbors that you see in the photo. Ms. Simmons, Christy Simmons at 244 North Main, her and her husband are the neighboring property owner, and they expressed concern about the proximity of the new addition and the ability for future repairs on her own garage. And at the time, the petitioner did not speak with her ahead of time to discuss the plans, but I heard that subsequent to that, sometime in February, they did have an opportunity to talk about it. And then Brenda Armstrong, who lives just south of Miss Simmons at 240 North Main, was concerned about a possible fire hazard. So if you recall, for development standards variances per the zoning ordinance based on Indiana law, there's a few different items that you're asked to at least consider as part of your determination. And then what you see here in yellow is the staff opinion, and you're free to adopt that or adopt your own. But the first one is the general welfare test, that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. I would say that unfortunately that has not been met. There could be less than 5 feet from the new addition to the neighbor's garage, which is attached to their house, and there could be a fire hazard, although this could be mitigated with a code mandated fire rated wall. The second item is adjacent property, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. I would say that unfortunately that has not been met either, for really the same response that was mentioned above. And then lastly, practical difficulty. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty in the use of the property. I would say, unfortunately, that has not been met either. It's certainly understandable to desire a 2-car garage, but there are complexities in this case that make it difficult to fulfill the request, in my view. So based on that, unfortunately, my recommendation would be to deny the variances. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions for Adam at this time? All right, hearing none. We will move to quick overview of the general structure of the hearing. We'll have time for the petitioner to come up. You may speak for the case. We'd like for you to say and spell your name and your address. Then we'll have time for the general public to come up and speak for or against the case as well. There will be time. There will be time then for the petitioner to return to answer any questions that were heard from the general public, from anybody that raised questions. There will also be time in the agenda for government officials to speak on the case. So with that, I would invite the petitioner, if you've got anything you'd like to say, to come up to the microphone to present. Can we make an accommodation to? If we can just adjust it maybe to capture it for the folks online. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm Joe Huck. This is Jessica Shug, my daughter, and we bought the house at 108 West Ohio Street. I reside at 10890 Florida Road in Fortville. I'm asking. So the day we bought this property, I went over there and said, wow, the garage, the driveway, it's 2-car garage driveway, but there's only 1-car garage. It was a little bitty 1950 house. We bought it and took it to the skin. We insulated it because we're green like that. And we remodeled the house and pulled a building permit to improve the house and did everything legally, knowing that the day has to come that we have to ask for permission to make it a 2-car garage, which I had faith we would do for sure, because the driveway, it's there. The garage is missing. So I was led to believe by my eyes that this day would come and it would be okay. By the way, what we were asking for originally was, and I have a copy of the petition, it was 8.5 feet, which is 1.5 feet from the property line would be our structure. And in the back north corner of our petitioned garage is the neighbor's garage to the north, which is only common 5 feet. So there's only 5 feet of garage that is even in question. The rest of the garage is much further to the north than our garage would be in its back corner as we applied for. But we met with our adjacent neighbor to the north on the weekend, and I've come to realize that we could do things differently and put one 16-foot garage door in instead of 2 8-foot garage doors, which saves space, which means that I could potentially move the northern approved wall yet further to the south a little bit, maybe a foot or two. But either way, the driveway is already built, the garage is missing. And I don't see, because I build buildings and businesses and homes and have for my entire life, I see only added value to our home and all of the homes around it. And it's only 5 feet of garage that is within. It will end up being about 6.5 or 7 feet from each other. And of course, I would be willing to build any rated wall that is required of us. And we would cross that bridge when we pull our building permit. And Adam's been most helpful and useful through the whole process. But that's what I have to say. We would put one 16-foot door in, and then she could pull in her garage, because right now she has an 8-foot door and a 10-foot garage and can barely open the drawer of her car. And so the exterior of what would be approved if we're granted this would look exactly like her home is now. We would, of course, not put any windows in any north wall. We know that's a no-brainer, and we would build the 1 hour if it's required of us, even a block wall, and then put the siding right back on it if that's mandated of us. But we're asking for permission to turn our 1-car garage to 2. Okay. Questions?
Any questions for the petitioner at this time?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if this was a 1-lane driveway, would we be here today?
Yes. To be honest with you, would I buy a house like that and improve it to the degree that we did if my hope wasn't always to get a two-car garage? And the answer is yes, but I knew I could not obtain a building permit. So I did what was lawful and was willing to wait for this day, and this day is here. We're asking for permission to add a two-car garage, and we're willing to do a 16-foot door and then 2 feet, and then I can get a two-car garage, and our investment will be protected as well as all the properties around it, because we did a really, really nice job on that. And I think we'll do equally the same workmanship should we be awarded this privilege. Thank you.
I've got a quick question for you. If you could just clarify, because I heard a couple different numbers. So you mentioned that there was the original proposal was an 8.5 foot garage, and we're going to be 1.5 foot off of the property line. Today, we're talking about being right on the property line. But then you also mentioned that you could do the 16-foot single garage door that would save even more space. So I guess what is the proposal that we're talking about? I hear 1.5 foot off. I hear
7.5 feet is my best estimate. I just came from there. So from the legal north property line, which is not in question, that is not correct. There might be some kind of encroachment, but the guy that sold all the properties, well, they subdivide it and then you find out some things later. This line that we're referring to is not in question. It's a no-brainer. And I've done a lot of real estate transactions in my day.
so the 7.5 foot. I'm sorry. So the 7.5 feet is the
Newly proposed distance, and I would use a 16-foot garage door and throw the one away that's brand new and put in a 16-foot door and then 2 feet to make a proper garage, but it's now two-car garage, and I would finish it appropriately as required of me by Fortville. I'm currently building a brand new home at 610 West Ohio Street in Fortville, on the same street as Jessica right now, which is next door to my daughter. So we will finish that this year, and we're annexing that home into the town of Fortville voluntarily, and we're asking for approval for this to do the garage addition, to make the home appropriate to the way it would have been all along.
okay. One more clarifier. So the 7.5 feet, that's the gap between the existing property and where the garage to garage. That's the space between.
Yes, that's correct.
Structure to
And that
structure.
leaves enough room to get a 16-foot door instead of 8 foot.
So now we're talking maybe 2 to 2.5 feet off of the property line, if we're assuming there's about a 5 foot based on the presentation. Does that sound, is my mathing there, Adam? If we were expecting 5 feet.
I think so.
Okay.
It sounds like it'd be instead of zero. So to clarify and make sure I understand is, so the original proposal was just to add another single door. So there'd be 2 single doors with that space in the middle. And what he's saying is just combine it into one 16-foot normal 2-car garage door. So yeah, you'd probably, so basically you'd gain probably a foot or 2.
Tops, yes. Instead of being 8.5 feet out, it would be closer to 7.5 feet, which is important to all parties here. I respect that. And so, but remember, we're only talking about the back 5 feet of our property. Our garage, as approved, would be only affecting 5 feet of the north property. And it would be about 7 feet away when we're done. But there's no chance we can build this garage without the cooperation and approval of the property owner to the north, because it can't be done. you're going to have to grade it, and we'll be willing to bear all expenses required of us to have this 2-car garage approval.
And then lastly, the other thing I just wanted to point out here too, since we have this exhibit here.
Yeah.
So, if you follow this black line here where it says 63.5,
Yes.
and then this goes around here and then goes, this is that jagged property line, okay? This is Christy Simmons' property.
Okay.
And if you see here, see this cross-hatched area, and then see where it says 2.5 feet? You know, to me, that would indicate that the house today is already on that neighboring property. This is the sidewalk that goes around. So what he's asking for would be to extend that line more onto this neighboring property and then to come within about a foot or two of this north property line instead of 0. Does that make sense?
Yes, I don't contest that, but it's the home we bought. We bought it like that, assuming that it would not have any encumbrances to any other property, with the faith that someday would come that we could make it a 2-car garage instead of 1. Otherwise, it'll be the nicest 1-car garage in all of Fortville, okay?
But just to clarify that point, the addition would also at the rear of the property encroach on the adjacent property owner, correct? Or would it fit within your boundaries?
It could possibly, I'm not denying that, as I just reiterated. So it could, but I can't speak to that. I did not know that until I read that report, which may or may not be 100%. But we bought it with the faith that it would at least be on our property. And that I did willfully.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
One question, just to pivot from a different topic. Did you install the driveway, or was that already installed?
It was already there. It was all part of the original purchase agreement. And might I add, I thought it was very unusual. I went to look at the house. It had a 2-foot driveway to the front door of the house. It had a 20-foot wide driveway, but it had a 2-foot sidewalk to the front door. And I said, I'm from Fountain Square. I've never in my life seen a 2-foot driveway, ever. And we bought a house with a 2-foot driveway, and it was perfectly done. So we added a foot on both sides of that driveway so someone like me could make it there.
Okay.
So when you purchased the home, was there no legal description or visual presented to you at that time that made you aware of this existing issue?
Yes, and the title policy said there were no encumbrances. If there were, when I bought it, I had several strokes. That's why we're sitting today.
Sure. Has there been any thought placed to, and I'm not saying yes or no one direction at this point in time, but has there been any thought to, I understand you want 2-car garage, but an addition that would stay within the confines of your property, give your daughter some additional space to store or open her doors once she's in her garage without encroaching upon your neighbor's property?
Fair question. That's a really good question. They make garage doors 8 feet and then they go to 16. You could have a garage door made for whatever wide, to be honest, I'm not going to lie, but your typical garage doors go from 8 to 16. Why? Because you put in multiples of 9, which is your maximum width, or you go to 16. And then you put a 1-car and a 2-car. In this case, it's the only garage. And that's why it's important to us that we be given permission to build a 2-car garage and expand the 1-car garage. And yes, I do apologize that we will be asking that we violate the setback a little bit.
So
Thank you.
I guess just to follow up on that, to that concept though, I mean, we see wide garage designs where outside of the garage door itself, there's a 4 or 6 foot bay.
Bump out.
Is that a bump out? Is that been considered to where, I mean, that would give you that space to one store? Because I've got a tight garage. I would love to have that additional 4 to 6 feet to open your doors, to have that space without encroaching. I mean, is that a consideration? Your door doesn't change the width, but you've got additional storage within your enclosed garage space.
Fair question. I was going to be an architect. Instead, became the president of Williams Comfort Air and Mr. Plum. I retired and then had strokes from COVID, and here we are now. So we want to do the right thing. If it's no, it's no. Otherwise, I've made a mistake. It'll be really nice if you say okay. And we'll work with our neighbor to the north as required to make sure it's okay. You can drive a truck through there now, and you will be able to drive a truck through there when we're done. And I'll make sure of that, I promise.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
In one of the images, the one I'm showing here to you now, it looks like there's several different trees on that property, maybe some that sit on your property, some that sit on your neighbor's property. Would any of those have to be removed to accommodate this
Yes.
structure? And are those your trees or are those your neighbor's trees?
Those are vertical pines, and the pine is on our property per my surveyor. And I did have him look at it, and I didn't have him look at the back corner that's in question, but we'll be happy to address that in any way that is necessary. But we're in front of you today to ask for permission to add a necessary garage to make us able to park in it. And the 16-foot door is about as small as I can see and still be okay with what we've done, which is a lot.
Any other questions?
Just a clarification, if I could. I mean, you did a beautiful job on the remodel. It looks excellent. Just kind of expanding upon what Joe said, is a compromise possible to do a 1.5 car garage?
Well, that's what my recommendation was. You can call it whatever you want, but it would have a 16-foot door. That way, at least one car can expansively get in, and we would avoid at least another foot by doing so. Starting from the existing south garage corner, it would grow to 16, and then it would return back on a north-south sphere immediately, so we could trim the corner and do what is consistent with the garage that's there now, but it would be a 16-foot door. And then when you get 20 feet back, you come in contact with the image of the garage, which is to the north of it. And so that creates about a 5-foot tunnel that would be approximately 7 or so feet long. And then it opens up to open door as you go to the north. There's nothing in the way. So it looks like should have always been that way to me. And all I did was make it the most that it could be. And this will help an awful lot.
Adam, I have a question for Adam real quick, just on the building permitting side of this conversation. If we were to approve a variance today that would allow for a 0-foot east setback and a 0-foot south setback, when it came time to actually apply for building permits, would your office approve a permit that showed a structure that was being built on someone else's property? Or would that permit be denied?
Well, I would say ordinarily, no.
Yeah.
Of course, it would have to go to the BZA. I would say if the BZA approves the variance request, then we would be compelled to approve it, to issue that permit. As long as they met the requirements of the
Well,
building
and
code at
that's
that
maybe what
point.
I'm trying to get at is,
Yeah.
you know, even if I look at what the variance we'd allow to occur here today, even if we voted yes on this, it still seems that a request to build a property, an addition to a property beyond your property line would violate this variance even, no?
I'll jump in. I think that we would want to have the consent of the neighboring property owner before the town would improve any sort of construction on someone else's property.
Yeah. Thank you,
I would
Alex.
also be happy to pay for the surveying cost to straighten out this mess that Adam brought to our attention it sounds like the south and the east corner of the current garage is actually off the property by a foot or so, it looks like, and we can easily take care of that with all the surveying needs of this variance should it be granted. And I'll see to anything on Adam's end to make sure that it's appropriate for what is required of us.
I'll make a suggestion to the board, and it sounds like with this issue of the encroachment on the neighbor or potential encroachment on neighboring property, and then possibly this variance request enlarging or expanding that encroachment. If petitioner believes that an updated survey would show that that is not the case, this one may be ripe for continuance and present additional information and updated survey and to Adam and staff to evaluate, because that encroachment issue, as suggested in the last comment, does affect the BZA's vote and decision here.
And I'm okay with that. That only makes sense to me. And we're willing to comply with anything that is required us from a surveying standpoint to straighten out any back corner. And it would be with our neighbor to the north, if I understood you correctly.
That's what I want to validate. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Is the neighbor that you're here? Perfect. Okay. That's what we wanted to. Yes, you will. Yes, that will be. Yes.
You want to come up here?
Yeah, we'll have you up at the front. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Appreciate you taking our line of questions there. Now we do have time for you. If you could spell your name and your address, please, for the record.
Or say it, just say it.
Say it's fine with address.
Christy Simmons
Okay.
at 244 North Main Street, Fortville. Okay, so I met with Joe and Jessica this weekend and upon receiving this, was not aware that there may be some already existing encroachment. I do have a survey, Adam, from 2013 when I purchased the home. I don't see an encroachment that's existing on the property. My one question I would have is, when you didn't build, you didn't change your footprint of the garage, you changed other footprints, right? That's right. But I think that's part of the problem is I want to make sure that we have the right survey information. We've been throwing a lot of numbers around, hearing 5 feet. The last measurement that I did this afternoon was with the, prior to the 16-foot door is a new idea. I also suggested kind of an amendment, kind of like a car and a half garage, or I suggested maybe they build north on the garage, just extending, making the garage longer so that she could have some space behind her garage. But my measurements are showing about 5 feet between what would be that said garage space to my garage. And I think this is where we can do the resurvey. I'm definitely open to be neighborly and to offer some space. However, what are we comfortable in approving? And could we approach it that way? And because I know it should be 10 feet minimum, right? I think Adam explained to me between
Yeah, I can-
buildings. And so
5.
could we work
I can mention real quick, if buildings are not attached in the town, the tightest setback that we have would be in Northwest Fortville in that PUD for the alley loaded product. They can do 5 and 5 setbacks. And I think we allow the eaves to go into the setback area. So even if you were to be really conservative, like what's the tightest between two houses and two new builds in Fortville would be, it'd probably be 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet.
Okay. Yeah, the eaves, yeah.
Okay.
If you count the eaves.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so I think I'm not sure we're ready to make a decision. I feel that we've got some numbers to crunch. I think now with the 16-foot door idea, I'd like to really see what that distance between buildings would actually be if it is coming in. And so if it's 6.5 feet or so, maybe what we could do is a couple, I mean, I'll guess I'll defer to the board, but I'm definitely open to a compromise here, but I do have concerns about having our buildings so close to each other. We're also working on upgrading our home and the existing garage. We're working, so we might be back, hopefully, not for a variance purpose, but I do understand my garage is already within, but it's grandfathered in, but is already in that interim space as well. So I think we're dealing with a little bit of existing properties not following the variance guidance today. So we also have that concern. So I guess I am not in agreement with the plans that exist, that if it's only about 5 feet, I'd like to further discuss, the options and the modifications and what that variance actually looks like.
5 feet is wall to wall and not eve to eve. So.
Right, that was building. It would be small, that's correct.
What was the 5 feet, 5.5 feet? But what we realized with the 16-foot doors, we can pull back this way. We're fine with the timeout. And we do not have a sense of urgency. Nobody's gonna be in trouble or anything like that. And we honestly would not do it until after we complete our beautiful home. It's our forever home on the same street.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Appreciate it. Do we have any questions? I think.
I just had one clarification. So you did propose the idea of a 1.5 car garage.
Yes, please. Just so we can catch it
Sorry
for.
about that.
I didn't discuss it. So on Saturday when we met, I was getting more amenable. My husband was not present, and getting more amenable with the idea after talking with Joe and Jessica, but I understand what their desires are. However, when I re-looked and did the measurements, I shared over text that I still had concerns. And and that is when I suggested I didn't use the term 1.5 car garage. What I suggested was, could you consider other alternatives to make your garage space larger? And my suggestion was to just build the garage, say, further north. Then you could think about, she could pull in, use her 1-car garage, but have the storage in the back of the garage that kind of faced the backyard. It was just an idea. But we didn't really talk about alternatives together on Saturday.
Okay. Good.
Just one more thing for the record, no relation between us Simmonses. Our kids are the same age, but we're not related. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Sean. That's appreciated. Okay. We do have time in our agenda for government official comment. Anything that you'd like to say on record? Anybody? Nope. Okay. Shaking of the head. No. We do have time for call it rebuttal, but if there's anything you'd like to say after the conversation from Ms. Simmons, I can bring the mic back to you I think maybe there's some questions on, we've talked about the continuance. Let me just grab the mic so that.
No, I'm amenable to a continuance till we can think this all through together, of which we're willing, but we're not going to be willing to give her enough room to just get out of her car. You don't do an addition for no reason at all. And that would be no reason at all. That would be so someone could open a door. And so a 16-foot door is the smallest two-car garage door you'll find if you check your codes. It's the smallest. And we would be willing to be dictated to do that, which means there's already 2 feet on the right side. So there would be 2 feet on the left side of that 16-foot door. So you would be a 20-foot by same depth garage if you approve that, but we're okay with a continuance.
So I want to just, for the record, I want to run through kind of what I'm hearing is kind of the critical path, what we've got to go through in the interim period, right? It sounds like the survey does need to be updated. What I think the board needs to see is there still an encroachment? You indicated there might not be. If there is an encroachment, I think it's going to be very difficult. As Alex, indicated, we would need concurrence very likely from the property owner. And so that's first. If there's not that encroachment, that opens the door further to what can be done. Then I think we need to see what are the concrete measurements post-survey. What are we talking about? What's the offset from the property line? What's the offset from the structure? Let's get concrete numbers on that. Again, I would like to know neighboring property, feelings on that distance. I'd like to compare that against what we've talked about as kind of our minimum distances here. How close are we? And I think all of that needs to come back before the board. And I think during that time, probably some more conversations between the two of you as the plans get fleshed out. What are you comfortable with? What are you guys proposing? Can we find a mutually beneficial solution? If not, it may have to be settled up here. But I would like to see those 3 things kind of tackled. And I'm sorry, I cut you off. Things like that.
Can we require plans along with that survey so that that's concrete, so that dimensions will be dimensionalized on that?
Have them
I'm
actually-
in construction and
Yeah.
I heard you.
Failing to
you
plan is
estimated-
planning to fail, right?
Huh?
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
But that way we would, especially since what Adam said, if we approve a variance, then anything that's taken before him would have to be approved. So if I'm gonna approve a variance, I would like a set of drawings and we
Done.
approve that set of drawings along with the variance.
So please require that of me with your continuance and it will be done. I'll have my architect draw it up. It's not what I do anymore.
Anything else for the petitioner?
I'm okay.
Good. Okay, then I think we've come to the end of the public hearing. The board will now, I would look for a motion to approve with conditions, deny or continue variance 06/2025. And if we want to attach, I guess, continuance with conditions based on a lot of our conversation, we can do that as well. Is anybody prepared to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we continue case number VAR 06-2025, 108 West Ohio Street, to the next meeting with the intent that we'll come back with formal building plans as well as updated survey for this board to review before considering any further variance.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Question, is a month enough time for you to be able to prepare a survey and draw?
Absolutely. This project would not be done until we get to good weather, which is spring.
All right, well then I would, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. All right, variance 06-2025 is continued to the March 2026 BZA meeting.
Thank you.
Can we leave now?
Yes, you may.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Appreciate your time this evening, folks. Really helps us deliberate on this. Look forward to continuing this conversation. With that, we'll close the public hearing section of the meeting. Board comments. Any comments this evening? I just want to start off the year. This is our first meeting of the year, and just say that I'm appreciative for all of you on the board and look forward to another strong year this year. So thank you for your service. Looking forward to it. Staff comments.
Nope, nothing for me unless you have questions on anything.
Extend the same appreciation to you all, Alex, Sarah. All right, with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:21. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Alex.
Anyways.
Yeah, that was good. Good meeting.